My sister finally forgave my boyfriend for breaking her heart, and I've never been more relieved. It started when I brought Garrett home 3 months into dating because I don't introduce anyone to family unless they're going to last. Missy had been living on my couch for 2 months after her latest disaster with a drummer who'd emptied her savings account. Before him, she'd had a string of failures, including an investment banker who vanished after she wouldn't sleep with him, and some guy who ghosted her claiming he was moving to Seattle. She spent nights drinking wine from the bottle saying love was a scam and all men were garbage, including me. Garrett seemed different because he remembered everything and sent me photos of weird things like a pigeon wearing what looked like a tiny hat. When I mentioned Missy living with me, his whole body tensed before he said he understood complicated situations. The morning before I brought him home, I begged Missy to change out of her stained sweatpants. She said she'd make herself presentable for my future mistake. The moment Garrett walked through my door and saw Missy, they both froze. Her wine glass shattered on the floor. She stared at him for 5 seconds before saying, "I should have known you'd end up with my brother," and locked herself in her room. Garrett went white and ran to the bathroom where I heard him throwing up. Through the door, Missy screamed that Garrett was the Seattle ghost from 8 months ago who dated her for 2 months before disappearing. He'd blocked her on everything and vanished without explanation, leaving her convinced she was fundamentally unlovable. I pounded on the bathroom door demanding answers while Garrett sat against it saying he couldn't breathe, and Missy was sobbing so loud the neighbors texted asking if someone had died. Garrett finally emerged and tried explaining through Missy's door that he'd been having panic attacks after every date because he'd realized he was gay but couldn't admit it. His parents had disowned his uncle for being gay and still called it a sickness. Dating her was supposed to fix him but made everything worse. I wanted to punch him for hurting her and hold him for suffering alone, but mostly I stood there useless while my boyfriend begged my sister to let him apologize. For 3 weeks they avoided each other, with Missy timing her exits and Garrett leaving gifts outside her door that she refused. I was caught between them, delivering messages neither wanted and drinking myself stupid. Every night I'd lie awake wondering if I was the worst brother alive for staying with someone who destroyed my sister. Then came the turning point when Missy's best friend visited and recognized Garrett from photos. The friend said, "Wait, isn't that the asshole who ghosted you before your promotion?" And Missy laughed bitterly saying, "Yeah, except plot twist, he's gay and sleeping with my brother now." The friend asked, "You're okay with this?" And Missy slammed her glass down so hard the stem snapped. "No, I'm not okay, because he made me think I was so repulsive he had to flee the state when really he was too coward to admit he wanted him instead." Garrett flinched but didn't defend himself. Missy turned to me saying, "Choose right now because I can't do this anymore. Either he goes or I go." Before I could answer, she turned to Garrett saying, "The worst part wasn't the ghosting or lying. It was spending 6 months thinking I'd done something wrong when you were the one who was broken. I changed everything about myself trying to figure out what made you run. My therapist even asked if I was picking unavailable men on purpose. I wanted to die." Something shifted because Garrett told Missy about standing on the bridge downtown for 3 hours after their last date. He showed her phone drafts with 50 unsent explanations, including one that just said, "I'm gay and I'm sorry," over and over. He told her about conversion camps his parents sent him to, and how dating her was supposed to prove he was fixed, but actually just proved he was gay. He'd spent months in therapy after ghosting her before he could even walk into a gay bar. Missy listened without interrupting while tears streamed down their faces, and I stood frozen, knowing I was about to lose one of them. Then she asked, "Did you ever actually like me, or was I just your experiment?" Garrett looked her straight in the eye and said, "I loved everything about you, but I couldn't fall in love with you. I'll hate myself forever for using your heart to try to fix mine." Missy stared at him before saying, "That's the first honest thing you've ever said to me." She walked to her room and I thought she was done with us, but she returned with a shoebox of mementos, including tickets and a cowboy hat. She dumped it on the table saying, "I kept all this trying to figure out what went wrong." She lit a match over the pile saying, "Tell me why I shouldn't burn it all." Garrett said, "Because you deserve to remember you were perfect, and I was the problem." She dropped the match into a mug and told him he owed her for her therapy bills and had to explain to her therapist why he'd ghosted. He agreed to everything, including helping her write a dating profile to filter out anyone unsure about what they wanted. So yeah, my sister forgave my boyfriend, and now she lives in our guest room because Garrett insisted we get a place with space for her. Last month she even laughed when he joked about her taste in men, which means we're finally the weird family we were meant to be.